Good evening, everybody. Can't believe it, but it says my connection's weak already. So we'll see how this goes. I'm waiting. Nicole is going to call in. I wanted to show you guys one thing before we got started. Tonight we're going to do a live call-in. So I'm going to see. It's been a while since I've done one inside here. Got one person that came on, so we know we're live. Joe McAllister, welcome Joe. Joe was with us this morning. Jeff Trudell is in. Good morning, Jeff. Or good morning. I'm used to the morning thing. Jason Erickson, Sky. Good evening, Sky. Sky's got a collie puppy I saw on Facebook coming. Jason Erickson, Jeff Trudell. I'm going to try to update my thing. I want to show you guys one thing before we get started. I've got Spry. I just got a text from Nicole, so she sent me her picture. She sent me a video and a picture that I'm going to use tonight. I'm going to turn some lights on. A couple things before I get going. So as people start signing on here, this is one thing I want to show. We've talked a lot about place training in the past. We've talked about beds. This is something I wanted to show that I've showed it once before, quite a while ago. Spry is still in her kennel, so I'm going to let her out in a second, and I think Nicole's going to call in. But if you can see this, see how hairy that is? Right now, Ellie is really shedding. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you one of the things that I like about these beds. So there's a lot of hair on it. This is the best way I've found to clean them. So, and this works really well for this fabric that we have on these beds. So I just take my broom. And I'll show you how quick and easy it is to get a lot of that hair off. Now there's a lot of there's a lot of beds out there. Had a call come in. So I want to show you that, how quick and easy that is. Now part of that is because the fabric. Like there's a ton of beds out there, and we've had several people, especially when we started in on place training. I think that's something that a lot of people have had a lot of success with. And part of the problem is that I've had with it was a few people were trying to do place training with other types of beds, and I'm not saying you have to have that type of bed, but that type of bed helps. And so because it's elevated, it makes it a lot easier for our dog. But the fabric cleans up really nice. Now if it got dirty, I'd hose it down and I'd put just some laundry detergent on it, and I'd wash it with my hand, and then I'd rinse it off. I'm going to see if Nicole has tried calling in yet. I'm not sure exactly how. I think it'll just chime in. So I wanted to show that with the bed. When it gets really hairy like that, it's really easy just to broom it off. Let me see. I wonder if Nicole is watching right now. I'm going to go through. Good evening to a bunch of people signed on. Do me a favor, guys, if you would share away on these things. That's the best way I've found to be able to grow it. Daniel's in from Australia. Aaron Garlock is in. Good evening, Aaron. I got your email earlier, Aaron. Aaron's training 2 dogs at the same time. Ambitious is what we call her. So she's got a question about that. Aaron, remind me. We might be able to talk about it even tonight. Tamara is in. Rocky's in. Doug is in. Blaine's in. Zach Sloden.
Warren!
Oh, that just scared me a lot. Wayne, good evening. Mike is in. Chris is in. Chris Smith. Are you the boss? Jason, Jeffrey, Vicky Rayburn. Hey, hon, do you know? I thought it was up before.
That's why we got back.
But could you try clicking on that and see if, I would imagine she tried calling, or she's maybe gonna call right now. But I'll get started because we're gonna get Nicole in live. So again, do me a favor, guys, if you would share it to someone who you think. Now I'm gonna flip this around. It's been a long time since we did this with these dogs. This dog, you won't even recognize her coming out of that kennel anymore. You notice she's in the big kennel. But the habit that we formed is you sit and you wait until you come out of the kennel. Spry, good girl. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Here. Sit. Another habit that we've got is we sit before we go outside. Sounds like Nicole's on. I'm going to be right in if you'd let her know. Spry. So I'm going to let Spry out. She's going to go out. I'm going to let her do her thing. I'm going to recall her back in. Come on, hurry up. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And then we'll get going live with Nicole. Come on. Come on. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. So you guys have seen this a long time ago. I did it. If you're new to these, tonight's going to be interesting because it's a call-in and there's a lot of stuff that you might be catching up on. But we did these with Spry when she was just real little. She goes out, she finds her thing, does her business. Hurry up. Good girl. That's a good girl. Come on, let's go. Let's go. And a nice little recall back in. Good girl. Now we're going to bring her over. We're going to talk about place. We just got them cleaning the bed up real well. Spry, come here. Place. Get up. Get up. Get up. And now you'll see her. So, Taylor, I'm going to bring over here. Enjoy. I've got Ellie on her place. Get up. Get up. Do we have, where's the other bed? One on the porch? Could you grab one? Okay, so we're gonna get going, guys. So here's what we're doing tonight. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Can you guys, I gotta ask a favor, the people that are watching live right now, can you let me know if you hear, if you can hear Nicole? Well, I'm gonna turn my volume up. So just once we start talking, if you could comment whether or not you're hearing her all right, and then I'll know for sure, and I won't have to worry about that. Let's see. I need to exit full screen. You're still on, right, Nicole?
Yep.
I need to bring up my email. Did you have a chance? I got it. Okay, so I've got a couple things. I've got emails. I've got a good picture. Are you on live right now, Nicole? Or not?
No.
I suppose you're on your phone.
No.
Okay.
Yep, I'm on my phone.
Okay, so it sounds good. Everyone says that they can hear this. I'm showing a picture that was emailed from you yesterday. It was Maverick, who is tied out, and that was one of the things we were going to talk about. It was an interesting picture that you sent me, so I'm showing the people at home right now so that they can see the picture that you sent me. But then we're going to I think what we'll do, Nicole, is we'll back up because there's probably some people way there. I don't know if there's a good way to turn the phone off during these things so that people can't call you, but so what we're going to do is I'm going to give the people that are watching right now an update on what we did in the past. So if someone is new, which we're only at 40 people right now, so probably a lot of these people have watched for a while. It's a pretty solid number, between around that 30 to 40 number. So a lot of people have probably watched these, understand that this is the third time, right, Nicole, that we've done a live call?
Yep.
Okay, so
yep.
We've done 3 live calls with Nicole. Nicole's got a puppy named Maverick, little yellow lab. I've got him on my screen right now. Looks like he's having one heck of a time in your driveway. And one of the things that the reason we did this was Nicole has been a sport about it, and she's run into some bumps in her road of training, just like I've run into some of the bumps in the road with Spry. Jeff Trudell, I'll pick on him. He's loyal. He's got thick skin. Jeff, I'm sure, is watching right now. I know he's watching right now. He has run into bumps with Thor. I've got Mike Phelps. We've got so many people that have been just really, really consistent following, or Mark Phelps, I think it is, following along with this and running into some issues with their dogs. So I really appreciate Nicole being tough enough, gutsy enough, I guess, to do it live. The reason I like the call-in is because there's it's one thing to get emails, and it's one thing to get messages, and it's one thing to get text messages, and I get plenty of those. The hard part about that is, like this morning, we had some nice interaction on live. Nicole, you were watching the live this morning, weren't you?
Yep.
So we got some nice interaction this morning with questions and answers, and when people ask a question, a lot of times, in order for me to try to help them, I have to ask more questions back. So by us volleying back and forth with Nicole, it helps me to help her more. So I'm going to show Spry how quickly she has settled in. It's something that is become essential, crucial, critical in our training, is the idea of just teaching this patience and steadiness. I had another person call me today and talk about how they thought they never realized the value of the steadiness and the patience with young dogs. So this is exactly why right now what people are seeing with Spry. So back to Nicole. Nicole, when we talked the first time, I'm trying to think back to our conversations. The first time, and I did scroll back through some of our text messages. I won't read them all, but I won't read any of them. But I scrolled back through it because for me, I really wanted to kind of revisit our history as far as where this started, some of the stuff in the middle, and we've kind of positioned some phone calls in between there. And then I need to get an update. So to rewind back to the very beginning, there were issues with, I would say the biggest concern on your end, first off, it was you had concerns with a lot of stuff real early on, I thought, based on the messages, what I saw. And I think the first time we talked, the biggest takeaway was maybe you don't have anything to worry about big picture. You've got a lot of little things foundational to work on. And the first and foremost, I think, was housebreaking, was it not?
Yep, that was one of our biggest issues.
Housebreaking, and I think we had issues with settling into the kennel, wasn't it? The other one was, I mean, you were just really struggling with getting him, and I think I think they were combined problems, the housebreaking and the settling into his kennel or place. Not necessarily placed in a bed, but in just a kennel or crate or fenced-in area, because you had some escaping that was going on early on, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we made some changes, we made some adjustments. The housebreaking part of it came around, right?
Yes, for the last 2 weeks, he, knock on wood, he has not had an accident in his kennel.
Awesome.
So we're moving forward there.
And remind us how old Maverick is?
He's 13 weeks.
13 weeks. So I have to be reminded of it because that's really young. So, that's half the age, almost half the age of what Spry is. So I'm glad I'm reminded of that, and I want everyone else to realize we're talking about a 13-week-old, not a 22-week-old or 23-week-old like Spry is going to be. So the last 2 weeks would be from, say, like age 10, 11 weeks on. You've had, knock on wood, you've gone without accidents. Beautiful, right?
Yep.
And so there were some major concerns when we got off the phone. I got messages, you got messages. People were saying, you can't do what you're saying to do to this dog. You can't cut water out of its diet. You can't just give it water with its food. I mean, there was an uproar. Now, one thing I want to be clear of is Nicole and I messaged and we talked, and even in our talk, we discussed the idea of this is not something that we are going to eliminate water. Oh, I didn't turn you off just now, did I? You still there?
Yep.
Good. Okay. I thought I closed it off. Okay. We did not say don't give your dog water and dehydrate him. What we said was control what goes in, control what comes out. Timing is important. Schedule and routine is important. Health is important. So we weren't neglecting the dog. We weren't saying, don't give the dog water. I think people overreact really, really quickly. And I think that's just a micro example of what's going to happen by a lot of people on the outside looking in. So I think it was a bigger lesson to me, not so much about the idea of, hey guys, we're not neglecting the idea that there could be medical conditions, but we're not going to take our dog to the vet because it pees after we give it drinks. Like, that's just, to me, common sense stuff that we have to be able to work through. And I appreciate everybody's concern with it, but you and I had to work through some of that, correct?
Yes, we did. And Maverick I took him to the vet just because I was concerned with the amount that he was peeing, and my vet actually told me some dogs, and she said, lucky you, some of them just don't empty their bladder all the way, and they continue to kind of, she explained it to me as like dogs when they drink water or something, they kind of can stock up on water because, like, in the wild, they're running around, whatever, and they'll get a drink, and then they could be a while till they get their next drink. So she said sometimes they just kind of will stock up on it and then just kind of let a little bit out. She goes, regardless of the amount, unless you completely dehydrate them, she's like, they'll kind of pee a little bit here and there, and that's what he was doing.
Right. It wasn't a UTI. It wasn't any of that. Now, I did have a person that was having similar issues to what you were having, Nicole, with accidents, that was messaging with me, and about the same time, ironically. And so one of my recommendations to her right away was, you know, if you're concerned with it, I would bring it to the vet, and I would say, you know, have it checked out for urinary tract infection. And so they brought the pup in because usually there's symptoms to that. It's usually just a little drips and it pees all the time. And there's not very much, and it's just there's things that would stand out to me. So that was what it sounded like with this one individual. And they brought the dog in. That's what it was. They put it on some medication, and within 48 hours, they didn't have an accident going forward. So that was something that, you know, we just had to work through, and I don't think it was the medical part that was the concern. It was the peer pressure that you were hearing from some people. And to me, I think the lesson that we talked about, and I think everyone should hear it, is there's a lot of backseat drivers and there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks out there, and we see that all the time. Mark just got in. So Mark, I was talking about you earlier. Your ears were burning. So the backseat drivers are real easy to say, you should have done it that way. You should have done this. This is how it needs to be done. I talked to so-and-so and they think this. We're going to hear that no matter what, whether we're raising dogs or raising kids or doing our job or whatever it is. So this is bigger than the dog training thing. But what we have to realize is sometimes we have to filter that stuff out. I'm not saying ignore and be a jerk to them, but I'm saying you got to take it with a grain of salt, and then you got to trust instinct at times. And so Nicole has, how old's your son?
My son's 11 months.
11 months. So she's got an 11-month-old little boy that for the next 17 years, you're going to have motherly instincts that are going to kick in, and at times you're going to have to trust instinct. This is a good test for that. This is a good, so we got through that. That was the first big road bump, I would say. Don't you think that was the first big one?
Yep. I was getting confused and kept going back on what I thought would be right because I had these people influencing me, telling me this is wrong and you need to give him water, and then actually have people give him water when I wasn't watching.
That's right.
The dog just needs clean water and all that stuff. So then I had to deal with accidents all over again because he drank 2 bowls of water, and they're like, he is so thirsty. He looked like a water balloon after he drank this water. And it was a miserable night because I was up every half an hour letting him out to try to stop the accidents in his kennel. So that was
right.
That was a nightmare.
I call it binge drinking. Like I watch back on the Spry videos when she's really little, and I talk about my dog will binge drink. Like she's like a college kid, man. She just pounds the water, and you pick her up, and she sounds like a half barrel of beer. She's just swishing around inside of her, and so they will do that. They binge drink, so we can't allow that. And I think when you bring that up, I looked back at my text messages, and when you had told me that night, I think my message back to you was training sabotage. Like that's what you just got. You got sabotaged. So it was a tough pill, but big picture, I think it was a good lesson to get through. And I think it was something that, knock on wood, again, you're not out of the woods, but you're getting out of the woods. And what I like about what I hear is you've got 2 weeks now of solid habit forming. And so all getting back to the foundations getting back to the fundamentals of this whole thing. When you train your dog, when I train this dog, when anyone trains any of their dogs at home, we're doing nothing more than forming habits. And habits are formed by repetition and consistency. So as long as we realize that, buy into it, and understand that we're going to try to push the good ones and avoid the bad ones, our life's going to go a lot easier. So there's the first hurdle. Now the second one, when we talked live the second time, what did we talk about on the second one? Do you remember?
Well, we still had the issue with the whining, and we were kind of hoping like he'd tire out and he'd actually get quiet in his kennel.
Yep.
But when he was on his place or he just did this like high-pitched whining that not only I couldn't stand, but my husband, and it just started getting really annoying. And it was like every time you let him out to go to the bathroom, you'd start all over again because he'd whine, and we couldn't figure out when he needed to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
It was really hard to read him.
Mm-hmm.
So that we kind of were going through that issue. I'm still going through the constant whining. I don't know if anybody's ever hunted with a dog before, that they have that high-pitched, annoying, excited whine. I can't stand it. I cannot stand whining. That's my biggest downfall.
Sure.
Is I can't stand it, and he does it all the time.
Where is he right now?
Kind of, what?
Where is he right now? Is he with you?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just wondering where he is. Is he like where are you right now?
What was that?
Where are you right now? Are you at your house?
Yes, I'm at my house outside. Yep.
Okay, so you're outside. Is he outside tied out, or where is he at right now?
He's outside tied out. I'm sitting right by him. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the whining takes place on the bed. Is that what it does?
A lot of times it's on place. It's on if we're outside and there's a couple people around and he's tied out. If we do the tie out just to kind of get him used to it, he'll just sit and whine and whine and whine. And sometimes it gets to barking.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we've been dealing with. Or if he's on place in the house when we're just around or whatever, and he can't see me, then he'll just sit and whine until he can see me.
Sure. Okay.
And that's what he does. And I don't know a way around that. But for me, whining, I don't tolerate it well. Maybe I need to just learn to tolerate it, but I don't tolerate it well.
Okay. Well, that's revealing. I'm glad you're saying that. So I'm making notes here in my mind right now. I agree. I can't stand whining either. I think it's a big turnoff of mine. So have you found any points where the whining has it stopped at all? Ever?
No. Nope.
Okay. So
not unless I'm by him, then he stops.
Okay. So it's attention. He wants attention. So that's easy to read, because you're getting him to stop when you're there. He whines when you're not there. So let's back up. Now, what other issues? I saw a video. I want to see if I can. I want to show this video before we go too far here.
I was gonna say that might make it a little bit more interesting for everybody, because instead of just watching or listening to us talk, it might be a little bit more interesting to see Maverick in action.
I don't care what anyone else thinks, Nicole. It's you and me here. I'm just kidding. Let me see if I can bring this up, because first off, I want to show you that first. Okay, let me hold on. Hold on. I am going to show this. I think we're all right. I'm going to show you this video that she sent me. Now, I'm not even going to preempt it. I'm just going to show it. Let me start it here. Now, you sent me this. When was this from, Nicole?
This morning.
Okay. So this was this morning, and this is what you sent me. Now, I'm just going to show it, and then I'll ask a question.
Hey, hurry up. Hurry up.
Going to the place that he always goes to the bathroom, right?
Yep.
I love that. Is that a turkey in the background?
Yes, I have turkeys and chickens like you guys do.
Hey, I'm all right with it. I just really liked. I liked. I mean, you sent me another video of him going to a spot, going to the bathroom back in the day. I don't know when it was. For his own sake, I'll give his own dignity.
I'm really zero tolerance. Like when it comes to going to the bathroom, I want him to have a defined area where you go, and because I don't want there to be any black and white with him, since he seems to have issues in the house and figuring out where he should and shouldn't go. I feel like it's made a big difference for him to know this is where I go to the bathroom.
Totally. He's going to the bathroom right now. I changed it off of him. I'm not going to show it and embarrass him. I don't. Now he's back. So now I'm going to show the people. So he gets done.
Good boy. Good.
Comes right to you.
Good
nice little
boy.
praise.
Yes, good boy. Good boy.
Good tone. And now you're heading back to the house. Is that what we're doing now?
Yep.
Okay. Now, I want to know. You get a nice little sit out of them, so you got a lot of control. Now, again, this is in your yard. Your yard's not small, right? I mean, it's out in the country. A lot of things going on.
No. Yep.
So we get them on a nice little remote sit. You get a complete circle around him. I read a lot of submission. I see right at the very end there, guys, it cut off. If you saw, his little head went like this a couple times, and he kind of like nodded his head up. I thought it was really submissive. I thought it was really looking at mom and going, what do you want me to do next? Like, my body language, my reading of that body language of that dog was really nice. I liked a lot of it. Now, I probably cheated by telling you all that stuff. What you sent that to me. I'm interested in your thoughts on it. Because I didn't know if I expected you to send me a video that was going to be like some problem, some issue. What are your thoughts with that?
Oh no, I feel with Maverick, I feel like he is very attentive and very focused. He's he's got his downfalls, but he is extremely focused and he means business. Like, he knows when it's time to eat. He settles right down and he'll sit like everywhere I walk around the house with this food dish. He's like sitting, waiting, looking at me. He doesn't get like wound up or anything.
So you're still doing that.
You're still whine and bark.
You're still doing that stuff, that foundational early on feeding stuff. Beautiful.
I do it. I feel like I just need to keep doing it. I just feel like it's something that's going to keep him steady.
It's a habit. You're in a habit, right?
Yep, and I want to feel like it's like it's sunk in his head, so he knows that. And that's when I test him with sit. I can, I've gotten to the point like where I walked around him. That was simple, but I've been, I can move around him and Chase will throw balls and talk and crawl past him, and he will not move. I can go in the house and he'll be sitting in the yard, maybe can be even 20 yards away from his food dish, and I will take him out, set him down, set the food down. He watching me the entire time. I can go in the house, do the dishes, come back outside and send him if I wanted to. But I don't make him wait that long, but I've had to run in the house to do something, or so I know that part I can move forward, I feel.
Okay.
My issue with him, or my concern right now, and I know you had said, when you tie him out, it's the habit forming. Don't let him be in a place where he can dig. So I only have a little bit of concrete in my front yard, and so that's where I tie him out to. Now I just have a little pillar that I tie him to, because I had him tied to a wall with the lead going up, and he would just spin and chew on it and bark and holler, and then eventually he settled. But when I put him on the pillar outside and the leash kind of spins around, he doesn't get tangled, and I only have him tied out when I can watch. But he will just roll around, chew on the leash. He doesn't pull on it or anything, but he's just rolling around, chewing on it, trying to dig at the concrete. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for when he's tied. He whines still, barks still.
No, what the picture I got up right now is the picture that you sent me, where it's like a concrete pillar. It's wrapped. It was a 35-foot cord you wrapped around a bunch of times, and then what did you like slip knot it off or something with 8 feet left?
Yeah,
is that what you did?
I have like a little swivel thing, so it kind of slides around the pole. Like it'll slide around. Like you can't keep tangling it. It just has this little metal swivel on it.
It does spin all the way around there.
Yes.
Without tangling. Okay, that's important.
Yeah.
Okay. The bowl, is the bowl from water, or was it food, or what was in there's a bowl picture?
I had just fed him, but I was sitting on the step watching him. I didn't go grab his bowl right away, and I just was kind of watching him to see what he would do.
Okay.
It's out. I think it's out of his reach. I don't think he could reach it anymore. But I just sat down and took that picture really quick just to show you.
Yeah. Do you
his
feed
little
him?
Tantrum.
Do you feed him there, or do you feed him somewhere else?
No, I feed him wherever. I change his environment all the time. Now that he's very steady with it and knows what he's doing, I've really changed setting, just because I want him to know it means the same thing no matter what. I don't know. That's just what I've always done with my dogs, is just try to change their scenarios once I feel like they're confident enough.
Yep, I'm all for it.
So I feed him outside, I feed him inside, I do everything.
I'm all for it. I would stop feeding him there, though. I wouldn't feed him by his tie out. Tie out. So
Okay.
So and then the other thing is what is that concrete or is that gravel or what is that floor? Or what is the ground?
The ground is concrete.
Okay. Do you have gravel anywhere?
My road is gravel, but he digged some huge pits in the driveway when I did that.
Okay. I wouldn't. So the setup, I don't like the setup you got here. I think that's part of the issue. Now, you in your message to me, you had said that you had tried tying him out to something like a flat background, but then he'd shoot some siding on the house. That I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. So what I would do is, if this pillar, I don't even like the idea of the pillar. I don't like it visual. I don't like it. I don't like the dog. I just don't like the idea of something big being there. What I really think you need to do, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think these are the small little details that will make differences. So digging is a habit that some dogs do and some dogs don't. If you've watched on Instagram, Spry digs. I put her on a gravel pad. She'll dig a little bit. She's dug a couple holes. It hasn't been horrible. I fill them back in and I move them so that it's hard on her to dig, and she's actually slowing down on her digging. So what I would do is, if there's a way, I like this idea of compacted gravel. I think it works good now, but it's not going to work for me when it gets real hot out because I'm not going to have any shade and I got to get the dogs out of the heat. So you're going to need to get them into some cover. Doesn't look like you have a lot of cover in this spot that you're in right now as far as like possible shade going forward. So what I would do is I'd start thinking about a spot, and I'd maybe look at sweet talk to Brent a little bit and see if you couldn't get a couple wheelbarrows of gravel, a pickup truck load of gravel maybe. It's not going to take much because I'm going to tell you to go 6 to 8 feet with a steel cable, just one straight steel cable. You can make them with a heavier cable, or you can buy them. I buy the 10 foots because I can't hardly ever find the 8 foots. But 10 foot I can get away with. I'd prefer it to be 8 or 6, but I can't ever find them. So I've made them at between 6 and 8 feet, and they seem to work a little bit better. But a pretty heavy plastic coated cable. Just get one 6 to 8 feet. Because right now, the picture that you're showing me is like, it's like he's at a carnival. Like he's just rolling around. He's messing around. He's fooling around. He's got a bowl there. He's got this cable. He's kind of pawing it with his paw. I want to try to eliminate stuff. I want this to be like super boring. I just want it to be, hey, there's nothing really here for me to entertain myself with. So I want you to go to, what's the local, you got Fleet Farmer by you or Farm and Fleets, or what do you have by you?
Yeah, I have a Fleet Farm.
Tractor Supplies or anything like that?
Hour away.
Okay, hardware store, Amazon, and there's this cool new thing, Amazon. They're faster than I am to get to the store, but so if you go online, and I'll show you, I'm gonna go grab one right now. I'm gonna show it on live, Nicole, so you can watch it after. This is what you need to get, guys. It's the simplest tool in the world. These two. So I'm just going to grab it, Nicole. I'm coming back. I'm showing it right now on our live. This thing, it's just super simple. It's just a stake that's going to go down in the ground. It's going to sit flush with the ground. So all it is a little bump that sticks up and swivels and avoids the cable. And then these, if you can get it with a little bit heavier cord than this, and if you can get it with 8 foot, that's ideal. 10 will work. Don't go more than 10. But so switch your setup, Nicole, and see if you can get some gravel, and see if you can get an area that. So if you got an 8 foot cable, you need like 16 foot diameter circle, and stone it so that it's a little less appealing for him to dig. And the other thing that you could do too is you could put if you really got a digger, you could get some concrete mesh, like welded wire mesh. Brent will know what it is. You might know what it is. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So get welded wire mesh, put that down, and then put stone or sand over the top of it. And then the only thing they can dig is in a tiny little square within the welded wire mesh, and it's not very entertaining for them. And they can't get much digging in, and it actually will start to hurt because they'll end up catching on that welded wire mesh. It won't hurt them, but it'll eliminate their ability to dig. If they dig, they're going to be tiny little holes. and way better than big holes in your yard. So set yourself up to try to get this habit. Now you have to tie out and you have to get some victory. And part of the problem also is if you're there to watch all the time, that means he's there to watch you all the time. And we've already determined the reason he's whining and fussing and making a stink is because he wants your attention. And so when you're by him, he stops whining. When you're away from him, he whines like crazy. So he's a little baby right now, and he's gonna have to learn to separate from mom and be okay with it and not throw tantrums and not be whiny. And so I agree, I can't stand whining. Now the other thing with whining is, and I don't know dog's mom or dad, but whining can be a genetic trait. So whining is passed. So if people have dogs that are whiners, some of my dogs whine, not terribly. And I don't think it's a genetic necessarily thing with our dogs. Sometimes they get in, they're a little more vocal at times. Taylor is not a whiner, but she's a grunter. She's really grunty, and she's relatively vocal. It's not terrible, and I can usually nix it with a little bit of a firm no, but she gets a little bit grunty, and Ellie gets a little bit, and so a little bit of whining I understand, because hey, they're communicating with us. They want to go out, they got to go to the bathroom, they're unsettled. That stuff I'm tolerant of. The whining due to excitement, that stuff we have to nip it early. Your dog's young enough that we can nip it early yet, and it might take firm correction. Like it may take something very solid of them understanding this is just not acceptable. It can't be a lot of nagging. It's got to be correction. So, but the first thing you got to do is.
So what would my option be for correction? Like for an example.
Don't correct right now, because that's attention. First, we got to get through this.
Oh, okay.
First, we got to get through this. So attention is what they want, and even if you give them negative attention, they don't care. They're getting attention. So we can't give it to them. So the idea with the tie out is you're gonna have to tie the dog out, and you might even tie him out further away. Take advantage of these next couple weeks before it gets real warm, because it's the best tie out time of the year right now, guys. You tie out in this, now I'm talking where we live, it's just beautiful out. It's not too hot yet. It's not dangerous as far as the heat. It's not so cold that it's uncomfortable for the dog. So the dog can typically settle in pretty good. So I got another person here who says we cannot get our dog to settle in, just keeps barking and whining. You just have to let that dog bark it and whine it out. And I've seen it happen for hours on end. But eventually the dog stops. It'll happen. It'll wear itself out. It'll have to take a nap eventually. And if that's what you have to do, wait till that happens, then that's what you do. So when you tie that
like with my issue, when I have a lot of people that come over, you know, we have people that come for filming and stuff like that. And so I like to have him around, because I don't like those dogs that are just crazy when somebody new comes over and just out of control.
Yeah.
And so when he's outside, I've had it to the point where he's whining, then he lays there and he's whining, and then nobody's looking at him, and then we're trying to focus on something, and then he just starts barking. So then I take him out of the situation and put him away. And I don't know if that's the right or the wrong thing to do, but it gets to the point where nobody can concentrate, talk, or enjoy anything.
Yeah.
He just gets obnoxious.
That's fine. I understand that, but the majority of the time can't be that. The majority of the time's got to be opportunities where you can let him whine it out, don't you think?
Yeah, and it is. A lot of times I'm just letting him do it, but like you said, I shouldn't be correcting. Well, sometimes I give him a firm no, and then he looks at me all sad, and then he'll shut up for 5 minutes, and he starts all over again. Sure,
because he's waiting for you to say no to him again. A couple of the messages that you had said was you tie him out, but you're always in a place where you can see him. Get him where you can't see him. Out of sight, out of mind. So it might be on the other side of your yard. It might be on the other side of the house, on the other side of the yard. Get him out of sight, out of mind. He's not going to hurt himself. He's big enough, you understand, he's not going to hurt himself. If you set your tie-up out properly so that he can't get tangled up in it, you got a flat collar on him so that he's not got a chain or anything like that. It's just a flat nylon collar with a 8-foot cable, and it swivels so it doesn't get wound up on itself, and then you walk away. And you gotta let him, but then be listening in the back of your mind, because as soon as you hear him stop, be ready to get around the corner to say, good boy, come on off. but you can't come off. He can't come off, and he can't get responded to until he shuts up. And it might take a while. But the same thing is going to be true on the bed. But let's work on one thing at a time. Let's get the tie out part for him to be stopped. The nice part that I like about this tie out issue is at least he's not pulling on it. Because if he's not pulling on it, then he's learned already. He's telling me he's giving to that pressure to the neck. And if he's giving to the pressure, that's the other reason we tie out, is because we want to get him to give to the pressure of the neck so that we can start on heel work. Now, at 11, 12 weeks old, 13 weeks old, it's pretty young yet. I don't know if I'd maybe be doing a little bit of introduction to some lead work, but it'd be with a flat collar, and it'd be real elementary. It wouldn't be, because he has a tendency to it's very clear he has a tendency, he wants to stick with you. Here's what you're probably going to run into, and I don't know if you've run into it already or not. Recall for you, is recall good right now?
Recall is very good unless there is a distraction. Like, I can call him off, like my turkeys, but I cannot, if Gage is outside, which Gage is a good sport and just ignores him, but Gage will come to me. But if I call Maverick, he wants nothing to do with me. He's just more interested in jumping all over Gage and pulling on his ears.
Mm-hmm. So avoid those situations if possible, because all that's doing is eroding your solid to work with heel work or recall. So avoid those if possible, so that it doesn't get. Otherwise, you know what I'm saying? It's countering. He responds really good when you recall him sometimes, but then he doesn't when there's a distraction. And every time he doesn't, it kind of negates one time that he did. So what we want to do is try to avoid the ones where he doesn't and emphasize the ones that he does, so that it'll eventually transfer strong enough that when there is a distraction, he's still going to come. So just try to minimize it as best you can. But recall is going good. I got news for you. It's going to get nasty probably pretty quick. It just always does around that time. I don't know. Would you consider him pretty confident? Like, is he bold, or is he kind of likes to stick tight with you? He's really looking for you, checking back in.
No, he's 100%. I'm on my own. What do you got for me? Otherwise, I'm not coming. I'd rather just lay here and look at you.
Okay. Well, at some point, he's going to become defiant, and you're going to struggle. And so that's why make sure, just keep doing what you're doing with recall, because when it happens, it's going to be a little bit, and you're going to have to get through it. And what I end up usually doing is just putting him on a lead for a little bit and making sure that I have control of him and I don't lose that control, because every time I lose it, I just take steps backwards with the recall. So usually...
So that's what I was going to ask you, because that was one thing that I learned back in my training days with older dogs, is I never gave them the option to not listen. They always had a check cord, so I was just wondering if that... Because I did. For the first 4 or 5 weeks, I just had Maverick on a lead when I would take him outside, just because I didn't want it to get in his head that, hey, I can just run away from her. Yeah. So that's what he did for a while.
So I think check cords are like Band-Aids or crutches. So the problem is if they start to really respond with a check cord on, that's fine. But then when the check cord comes off, they're not dumb. So I want them to respond with it off as long as I can, like you're clearly doing it. And then when the problem comes up, then just put him on a lead. And that's why it's nice that he's giving. That's why it's nice that he's giving to the pressure of the neck, because it's probably going to go pretty nicely for you. If he's giving to the pressure on the neck on the tie outs.
So what do you do? What do you do? Like, so okay, say, I mean, I don't know when is the turning point. Say he's doing really good, and he's coming to me, and he even is coming to me with some minor distractions. But when you say, I got to avoid these situations, and these situations will happen, what do you do, or when do you know that your dog is ready to deal with that, or how do you know that?
Well, if right now, they'll tell us. So if right now your dog doesn't respond when Gage is out there to you, that's what I'm saying, to try to eliminate those opportunities. Because he doesn't come when you call him, but when Gage isn't there, right, he comes to you. So you know that he's pretty good with some of the other distractions in life. So you have to kind of put your toes in the water and see at what point does the focus go away that you can't get him to come to you. That's it. That's when it'll tell you that there's the point. So now take a step back and then work towards whatever that step is. So Gage is obviously a clear distractor for you right now, for him. So Don't work around Gage right now. Work where Gage isn't. Get real good, and then is there anything else out there that he's distracted by?
No, not in my little yard. It's pretty much it's Gage, because even the chickens, he'll kind of go towards them, and I just say and then he turns and he'll come right back to me. So.
Good. So now take Gage and put Gage on. I would take Gage and I'd put Gage on place somewhere, or I'd put Gage on a remote sit. So I know he's not moving, he's right in his spot, and I'd take him on lead and I'd walk him past him and see what he does. And if he goes to him, I'd give him a little tap. I'd correct him a little bit. Or I'd have Gage sit. Is Gage an indoor dog too?
No, Gage is not.
Okay. So where does Gage stay? Out in the kennel? Like an outside coop?
Gage has a big kennel run / dog house in the barn.
Okay, so put him in that, and then work with the pup in the yard. So, and if he can avoid the distractions of Gage being in the barn in his pen and you're in the yard, then maybe, I don't know how big the barn is, move into the barn. And can you get his attention? Can you get him to do what you want him to do when Gage is in the pen? I like the idea of group work. I think it's a little early right now with Maverick, because he can't be 100%. He can't be bulletproof. He's only 13 weeks old. So, but what the other thing I would do is I'd roll reverse it. I'd put the pup in the little pen, and then I'd take Gage and I'd work with Gage in front of the puppy, and I'd let the puppy watch. And now Gage has to be a pretty good role model. Like, if Gage isn't a real good role model, then I wouldn't do that. But I don't mind that. I'd tie the little puppy out, and I'd go do some stuff with Gage.
So what do I
now, I wouldn't do it yet, because you can't get him.
When he's freaking out.
Yeah, you can't do it yet, because you can't even get him to be quiet on the rope, on the tie out. You need to get him to be quiet on the tie out first without distractions, and then we'll start adding distractions. So backing up.
And then if I bring him, or I bring Gage outside, and then right away after we've already gotten him to quiet down, I hope he does. But once he starts settling and quieting down, well, then I bring Gage out. Then he just starts flipping out. Then what do? Take Gage away right away?
Well, I think you got to move to it a little more gradually than that. So first things first, let's get the pup to be on a tie out and be accepting to. I wouldn't take Gage out once the pup starts to settle down on the tie out. I wouldn't necessarily bring another dog into the picture at that point. I think it's a little too quick. So what I would do is I'd just go outside, I'd walk to the truck, and then I'd go back in the house, and I wouldn't pay any mind to him. I wouldn't pay any attention to him, because that's probably going to light him off like a fuse. He's going to start whining, he's going to start barking, he's going to start crying. So then you let him settle out again, and he settles in, and then I might come out and let him out and bring him back in the house. So we're going to gradually add stuff to it, but first things first, let's get him to mentally give in to the idea of being on a tie out without making a commotion. And at 13 weeks old, It's not surprising. He's tiny. He's just a little pup. And he's just not used to it. And he's angry. It's probably a combination. He's frustrated. He's angry. He's pissed. He's all sorts of stuff. And so his way of displaying that is, I'm going to throw a little fit. I'm going to throw a tantrum. Now, up until this point, he's gotten what he wants out of that. He's gotten corrected. He's gotten said no. You've been able to go get him and put him in the kennel. All of that equates to the next thing that happened for him was he got attention, and he just can't get attention anymore. So it's going to be it'll be a pretty rough rodeo. Like, you're just going to let him, that's why I say put him further away. So certainly don't sit there and watch him, because you'll pull your hair out.
So with him, like, when he's whining and stuff, and I'm not giving him any attention. Now, you say some dogs are genetically predisposed to that. Does that mean he's just going to do it forever?
No. When I mean whiners, I mean like in the blind type whining. I don't mean whining on a tie out. I mean like birds are setting in, so they, they get real whiny when they get excited.
That's what I'm talking about. Those are the dogs that I've hunted with, and they just make me not. I don't like that. Yeah. Well, that's why we're not to that. I mean, we just got to get. So
when that happens, you're not to that point yet because you're not in a position to be training like you're in a blind or training like you're doing steadiness for retrieves or any of that stuff. You're just not there yet. So when that if that comes up, you address it then with a correction to it and try to hope to get through it and nip it early. But right now that's not necessarily what we're talking about as far as being tied out and throwing a fuss. You know, right now he's just fussing. And that's not, that I don't think is a genetic thing at all. That's a dog thing. That's just them being puppy. So you just had a nice, sounds like you just had a nice recall.
Yep.
So.
He smelled something, so he was going after it, and he did kind of forget you, I'm going for it, and then he came to me.
Yeah. Sounded really good. And your timing was good on praise. So I don't think, so foundationally, I really like what I'm hearing so far. I like the idea of his steadiness. How about retrieving? Have you done any retrieving?
No, because he's teething. He's missing teeth.
He's missing them already at 13 weeks?
Yeah, and he's lifting his leg when he pees, so yeah.
Holy man, he's a quick bloomer. Wow. He teethed.
I've never seen a puppy lift his leg so early.
He teethed really early. That's really early. I don't know that I've ever seen it before 4 months.
I'll try to catch it to show you, but yeah. He will. Most of the time, he'll squat, but he'll find a tree or something and put his leg on it. And I was like, did I just see that?
Prior to him losing these teeth, did you get any retrieving in with him?
Yeah. Yep.
How was that for you?
Good. He'll go and grab it and.
Pretty natural.
He likes to carry things. Good. So.
Well, I think that sounds good. I think you're on the road. I like what I see in the video. The thing that's standing out and the thing that you can just hear in your voice is the whining and the fussing on the tie-outs. And you know what? Your tone and the way you sound to me right now sounds a lot like the tone. And what will be interesting is if you went back and watched the first call in, your tone changes depending on what you're talking about. And like, it's just something in your voice. I can hear it very clearly. Whatever it is that's the struggle, the issue at that point, the road bump, whatever you want to call it. Now it's whining and fussing. Before it was having accidents. It just changes because I can just tell it stresses you. It just really it wears on you. And so one of the things I'm going to tell you is that's something that you're going to have to figure out how to deal with it and be not as transparent to the dog, because I'm sure I can sense it, he can sense it. So it's a frustration level, I think, that you're being tested and pushed your limits on. So you're gonna have to deal with that. I think part of it is setting yourself up the right way. No different than setting yourself up with the kennel. When your puppy escaped the first couple nights, broke out of the kennel. I don't know how he did it. He climbed out of that kennel. He had accidents. He Houdini'd on you. When that happened, that tested you greatly, like to the point of panicking and almost like, I think, second guessing decisions at that moment. And that was only a couple nights into it. So
I have never had such a young dog before. I have always had older or rescue dogs, so I was not used to it. The whole sounding like a dying rabbit thing, that really threw me off. Yeah.
So, but you got through that, right? And so kenneling, where's the kennel situation at? Does he settle into his kennel pretty well now?
Yep, he goes right to it. Goes right into it.
So,
and then when he's done eating, he goes right into it and lays down.
So that was like 5 weeks ago. That was only like 5 weeks ago. That was like seven. He was like 7 or 8 weeks old at the time. Remember?
Yeah.
So it hasn't been that long, and you made a few changes. You adjusted some of your setup, and you made a few changes, and then I think you made some adjustments as far as how you dealt with or compensated or reacted to some of the things he was doing behavior-wise. And now, in a matter of, part of it was that, and then the other part of it was just letting the dog figure it out himself. And so, in a matter of 5 weeks, that big hurdle that was really a barn burner to start out with, it's not even a smoldering anymore. Like it's just done. That's good. We're past it. Now this one is the fire. This one is the one. Oh my, the whining and the I can't stand. I know you can't. I can't either. But in 5 weeks from now, I think we're gonna have the same conversation, but it's gonna be a different issue. You're gonna have another fire. It's just this fire with tying out and whining and barking and all that stuff. I got a feeling it'll be 5 weeks past us. We'll be down the road a little ways. But I think in order to do that, you're gonna have to do the same thing. You have to change your setup. So do me the favor, talk to Brent about it. See if there's a way that you can figure out a spot. Ideally, what I would like to see you do is don't put it next to a building. That dog will chew the building up. No doubt about it. So get it out, but make sure you got some shade because it's going to get hot soon, and you're going to want to keep the dog out of the heat. So don't feed them near the area. Don't let them bathroom near the area. You don't do that already, so that's fine. Keep it a clean area. Keep it just a spot in the ground that the dog doesn't even know what the hell's going on. It's just there's a cord that comes out of the ground, and it anchors me. And I can get as mad as I want. I can throw as many fits as I want. I can get as frustrated as I want. And mom doesn't even come anymore. So finally, it's just going to go, you know what? This isn't nearly as bad as I thought it was. I'm not getting the attention I want until I shut up. And once I shut up, miraculously, mom comes out once in a while and praises me, lets me out, or does something with me. And use the tie out. The dog should be on the tie out.
So you don't want him to go to the bathroom in that area?
No.
Sometimes he does.
I don't, no, avoid it if possible. It's inevitable they may. Clean it up right away. So don't turn that into a spot for the bathroom. So if it's number 2, clean it up. It looks like you have a really good spot for him to go to the bathroom. Your routine is solid there. I could see that. So continue to do that. Okay? Continue to take him to that spot to go. Just make it a different spot where you tie him out. And if he happens to go to the bathroom, that's fine. Clean it up. Just don't leave it there, because I don't want to turn that into a bathroom spot. So, but make it so that there's some shade. Make it so that there's a spot where he's eventually going to lay down, and make it so that it's not right in your face. So that, like, my spot where I've been tying these dogs out, I show it on Instagram. I'll show it in the future. I'll actually like turn around and show you how far it is from my house. It's a pretty good distance from my house. It's 50 yards from my house. It's going to work for me right now until it gets warm. Once it gets hot, it's not going to work. So I'm already contemplating spots. I don't have a lot of shade around here, so I'm contemplating spots where I'm going to build this gravel pad that I'll tie stake dogs out in to avoid the idea of digging. I can't do it in my yard. If I do it in my yard, there'll be bomb holes where dogs have dug holes. I can't. I love my yard. I can't let the dogs chew it up, dig it up. So I'm gonna find spots either out in the field that I don't care if they dig holes, or I'm gonna set it up to try to avoid the habit of hole digging. Whether I use welded wire mesh or gravel or something to deter them, that's what I'll end up doing. But so I'll show you how far away it is from my house. But it's 50 yards. When I'm in my house and my windows are closed, if that dog's barking, it's a faint little sound. I can't hardly hear it. And so, but I can hear when it's quiet. And so if I know it's quiet, I can peek out the window and I can see whether or not they're settled or not. And so it allows for me to be able to check on him and make sure he's fine, but not allow him to see me and essentially get the attention that they want. Just me coming out and looking at them is attention. And that'll pour gasoline on the fire of that dog whining even more. Because they'll say, come and do that again. I liked that. In fact, come a little closer. You yelling at them I know it sounds negative, but it's attention. And they'll take attention any way they can get it when they're in that position.
So as soon as he settles or he is quiet in his new area that I'm going to have him tied up on, as soon as he's quiet, I'll pop outside and go up to him.
Give him a little bit of time to settle, so you're sure he's settled. He's not just out of breath. So give him a little time to settle. What I really like to do is watch him. If they're laying down, if they're curled up and laying down, they're calm. So I'll go out and I'll just walk up to him and I'll tell him how good he is and I'll bring him back in the house, or whatever you're going to do. But then don't be afraid to reset that 30 minutes later and do it again. I mean, the nice part is with you being home and working from home, you can practice tying out just about all day long. I had Spry on top.
On the inside, when he's on a place or whatever, like I said, when he's on the place, it's just not doable for me. The place works excellent when I'm in the kitchen and I'm around and whatever, and if he's whining, I can ignore him if I go in the living room and stuff. He broke once, but I corrected him quickly or whatever. But he, as far as like settling, he just does not settle on place. But outside, he will eventually settle down and.
Yeah, I'm gonna remind you something. 13 weeks old.
Yeah.
You know, when did you start place training? 8 or 9 weeks old, right?
Yep.
It's been 4 weeks. Like 4 weeks isn't very long. I know it seems like an eternity, but 4 weeks is a micro. I mean, it's small. So my
being worried about being behind, I'm not behind it. I know I'm not supposed to compare myself to anybody.
Be patient.
I'm kind of wonder where should I be.
I'm glad you said that. Because that's what most people think. That's natural for you to think that. It's natural for every person to watch the videos that I've done with Spry and make comparisons to it. I've had people make comparisons to. I've had one guy tell me, "I love watching what you're doing with Spry because I can see the things that you're struggling with, and my dog's doing so well." Now he's making a comparison. He's just making the opposite. Okay, I don't care. That's fine. But it's natural for people to watch this and make comparisons and go. Jeff Trudell made a comparison tonight. I saw it come through before. So he just said, he actually just commented, Thor is the same on place. Takes him forever to settle. Thor is like not much younger than Spry. So don't worry. Don't worry about it. That's another thing that you can tell it. It's bugging you. Don't worry about it. As soon as we stop worrying about stuff, it's amazing how quickly it goes away. But when we stew about it and we get so frustrated about it, and damn it, it's really making me mad. It's amazing how it's that thorn in the side that just keeps digging in. As soon as I let some of this stuff go mentally, boy, it's amazing how it just goes away. But that happens. And so you're in the same boat, and I think it's very human nature to make the comparisons to everyone else's dog. But here's the thing. I should do the same thing. You know, if that's the case, I should be making comparisons because everybody's been sending me videos. And you know what? 9 out of 10 of the videos that were sent to me during the time period of where your dog is right now when I say your dog, it's because my dog wasn't teething at that point. So I was trying like hell to get my dog to retrieve at 13 weeks old. I was trying really hard to get Spry. 10 weeks old, 11 weeks old, 12 weeks old. Finally, I think I realized I need to practice what I preach and quit trying to ram through this brick wall. And I took a step back and I just stopped because I realized she's not ready for it. And so until she's ready, I won't get there. So I just accepted that and I was okay with it. And I took weeks off of it. And I finally got a way to get her make a little bit of a retrieve for me. But hell, she was 15 weeks old probably when she was doing it. So if I were in the position of where most are and making the comparisons, I'd have really been frustrated with my retrieving. Because you know what? Everybody else's dog retrieved better than mine. But trust me, I was panicked about it for about a week and a half. And I even mentioned it in the lives. And I said, you know what? Instead of me trying to like catch up and figure out what the problem is, I'm just going to say, you know what? My dog's not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. So we're going to work on other stuff. And when she's ready for it, we'll get it. We'll get there. Now, that probably took a lot more to do that than anything. When things are going well, it's easy to move forward. When things aren't going well, sometimes it's tough to say, I'm gonna adjust my plan. I'm not gonna work on it, and I'm not gonna care that everyone else's dog's retrieving really well at this age and mine isn't. Because once again, this is not a sprint. I don't care what the score is at the end of the first quarter. What matters to me is when the game is over. That's what I want to know. That's when I want to be on top of the other person as far as points. Because that's when it counts. It doesn't count any earlier than that. It really doesn't matter. If you lead the game all 3 quarters and you're losing at the end of the 4th quarter, you lost. Period. So for me, I don't care, and neither should you. And so anyone who's listening right now has to realize the comparison thing doesn't work. And so as soon as you forget about the comparison thing, don't worry about that anymore. Trust me, there's plenty of people that are struggling with it. I haven't been able to read through all the questions and stuff, but I've seen a few people make mention of, my dog whines and barks on the tie out still. You're not alone, Nicole. You're not alone. Hell, the other day, I mentioned it. My dog barked on the tie out. Spry barked on the tie out. I don't know why. She was pissed. She was really angry. She was barking. She'd get back. She'd rear back on her hind. She'd like lay down her front shoulders and rear her hind quarter back up, and she'd just and she'd bark and she'd make weird noises, and she was just super frustrated. So you know what I did? Absolutely nothing. I let her get through it. Eventually she laid down, and end of the day I brought her back in. But I tied the next day. The first thing I did was I tied her out after we came in from a walk. I fed her and I went and tied her out. And she tied out for probably 5-6 hours. And you know what? It was beautiful out. And I looked at her and she didn't hardly bark at all. And she didn't hardly whine at all. And she watched the neighbors building a barn. And she saw watched the chickens all day long. And it was just, she had a pretty nice view all day long. She didn't fuss or fight or anything. So, you know, she barked the day before. But I didn't really give into that. And so we're going to have ups, we're going to have downs. You got a lot of downs right now in that department, but guess what? You got a lot of ups in the other department. You got a dog that'll recall. A lot of people don't have the dog that'll recall at that age. So look at the positives and go, we're doing well with this. We're not doing well with this. We need to work on this. The stuff we're not doing well, we need to work on. The stuff we're doing well, keep going, and you can probably take another step with it, add another layer to it. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So anything else that's on your mind? I'm really glad you.
No, not really.
Go ahead.
Not the only other issue I had, like I said, was the pottying, the 4 or 5 squats, you know, and then having his accidents on place. But other than that, I feel like he's been really good. I've had a lot of people compliment, you know, say that he's doing well, and I've also had family members, you know, telling me, well, he needs to get off and play and run around with Gage, or be, you know, kind of be out and about with some other dogs, or needs to exercise and stuff like that, you know. And it's just like, I get tired of trying to tell people I'm working with a trainer. I know what I should be doing, you know, quit questioning me.
Yeah.
Like you said, it just kind of goes back to, this is what I'm doing, and then a lot of times what I feel like, and I don't know if this is okay, but if I have certain people over, I will just remove him, you know, from the situation, because I just don't even want him to be part of the conversation.
Completely.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly the move to make. So it's two things. It's everyone faces it. Okay, we all face it. We all have that relative. We all have that friend. We all have that one that knows everything, and has the answer. Well, they're Uncle Rico. They're the ones that could have been in the NFL if the coach hadn't screwed them. You know, like we're always going to have that. We're always going to have that. So there's always going to be that person that knows how to do it better. And so there's 2 ways of handling it. You can either, well, there's multiple ways, I guess, of handling it. There's 2 good ways, I think, to handle it. You can do what you're doing and remove the dog. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with that, because sometimes it's less stressful on you to do that. You just put the dog up, and it's not punishment to the dog, and especially because the dog likes his crate anyway, and you've already set that up as a safe place. And so all that stuff is reasons why we do the crate training. It's reasons why I do the place training. I use my place as much as I do my crate. So it allows for a safe place to move them off. Now you're having some struggles with the place. You're not going to stop with the place. We're going to have to get you that. We're going to get there. But let's take one step at a time. But you can either remove them from the situation, or sometimes this is the thing you got to do, and sometimes this is the hard thing to do, is you have to have a real heart-to-heart with that Uncle Rico. You got to have a real serious talk with him and say, look, here's the deal. It depends on where you're at. You got to, you know, every situation is different, but, you know, if they're at your house, there's something that to be said about the idea of, you know, hey, John, you're at my house, and I'm going to ask you to follow our house's rules. When we're at John's place, we'll follow John's rules, but we probably won't bring the dog to John's place. because that's not what we're looking to do with our dog. So no different than when you're in a perfect example. If people come over and want to raise your son for you every time they're there, at some point you're going to get pretty tired of it. And you're going to establish some rules. Now, most people have the common sense to not be that big of a jerk, and hey, you're the parents and you guys do what you guys do, and maybe that's not what I would do, but I bite my tongue because, hey, it's not my kid and it's not my house. It's not my place. Well, the same applies to the dog. So if they're guests at your place, you have a choice. You can either establish it with them or you just remove the dog from the situation. I'm a big fan of the prior. I like letting people understand that, this is why I'm doing it, and there's a tactful way of doing it. There's a way of doing it respectfully. There's a way of doing it where you can educate them and have them understand it. And sometimes it doesn't matter, and then maybe the answer is one of two things. Either they don't come over or the dog doesn't come out when they're over. It's easy. So I think you're handling that the right way. I think everybody faces it. So that's gonna apply to more than just dogs with you. That's gonna be your kid. It's gonna be, it's kind of a common courtesy thing too. So it just depends on the people,
Yep.
So, but otherwise, well, so I think marching orders going forward, we're gonna get this tie out thing. We're gonna get a hold of this tie out thing. So I think it's gonna be a tool. It's gonna be a really nice tool for you when it works. But it's gonna take time. It's gonna take some time. So, anything else you got on your mind?
No, that is it. I think it pretty well covered everything. So thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I love that you do these. I love that you're willing to do them. I don't think that it's easy to do because it's really. Here's what I think. I give you a lot of credit on it because I think it's very. It's putting you in a very vulnerable spot, and so. I don't know how comfortable I would be calling someone and talking about my problems. I wouldn't mind it one-on-one. I don't know if I'd want to do it live on Facebook. So I give you a ton of credit for doing that. And I think what I think we have to realize, and this is for everybody, not just you. It's for me included. It's for every one of us. The reality is I make mistakes. Like my dog, my Spry, the one I got on video right now, I don't know, it was probably a month ago, 4 weeks ago, let's say. So she was about 18 weeks old. She peed on her place. She was on her place. She had an accident. She peed on it. Okay? So me, Jeremy, made this mistake. It was nobody else. Now, here's the scenario. We're at Whitetails Unlimited dinner in Madison. We take this dog into the show. We're at the dinner. Dog's on place. Taylor's on place. Gets late in the night. Dogs fell asleep. After being in there, we ate, they woke up. And they got a little antsy. I mean, Spry, it was very clear to me that she got a little antsy. I figured she has to go to the bathroom. So I said to my son, who's 15 years old, I said, Mason, take Spry out, have her go to the bathroom. Now, this is 4 weeks ago, and 4 weeks ago, she was just starting to get a little bit more into heel work, so working on the lead. So he takes a lead because we're in downtown Madison, and he's nervous. He won't let her off the lead. He's not going to let her out without the lead on. So he takes her outside of this banquet hall. He puts her on the grass. He was gone for 15 minutes. Comes back in. And I said, she went, huh? She must have went. No, she won't go. She won't go. So I'm sitting there and going, no, that doesn't make sense. He goes, I'm telling you, she didn't have to go. I walked her around in the grass. I did all sorts of stuff. She did not go to the bathroom. So I said, well, I'm just second guessing this whole thing, and I'm going, all right, put her back on place. So he puts her back on place. I'm not paying attention, and all of a sudden I turn around, and within 3 minutes of her getting back into the place, within probably less than 3 minutes, she peed all over her bed. And so I'm violent at that point. I'm just like, God, I knew she had to go to the bathroom. So I'm frustrated. I pick her up. I take her outside. And I come back in, and I'm mad at my kid. I'm mad at Mason because how can you not let this dog go to the bathroom? So here's the reality. I'm the one who made the mistake. And so how did I do it? Well, she just started on lead. And when she first went on lead, she didn't want to pee when she was on a leash. She did not want to pee when she was on the leash. So I tried it for a long, long time. As soon as I would I just slipped the lead off of her neck and she'd squat down and pee. But for whatever reason, she did not want to pee when she had that leash on. So it was right after that we were there and that happened. So why did I not recognize it? Well, I don't know. I had other things on my mind and I wasn't thinking. And why was I upset? Because my son took her out and the dog... How was my son going to know that? So I really wanted to blame everybody but me for that problem. And the bottom line was, hey, I should have took her outside because I would have felt confident enough to take her off the lead and let her go to the bathroom. But I didn't. So what I'm saying, the reason I tell that story is this dog makes mistakes. This trainer makes mistakes. So does every other person. So the person that's out there that has all the answers, never makes the mistakes, is a liar. We all do. Myself included. So the problem is most people don't want to say it. And so with you, I give you so much credit for being able to share it with us because you're having the same problems that I would say the majority of the people watching this are having. And you're having the same problems that I have had at some point or am currently having with these dogs as well. So that's my big lesson to everybody is as soon as we're able to accept that and be okay with it, we'll be able to move forward. But man, there's a lot of people that just can't give that up and go, oh no, I don't know. Well, hey, I don't know everything either. So keep that in mind. I want you to continue to be open with us that way.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. I was a little nervous doing it, but you know what, I was like, it's not that I haven't worked with dogs, it's not that I'm not, don't know what I'm doing, it's just, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything right, and so I think I stressed myself out trying to be so perfect with him, because he's going to be our family member, and totally. I want to do things right, and some things you can make mistakes on with dogs. I see it, I've had rescue dogs, and some of these problems are deep and really hard to reverse a dog out of once they're set. Right.
I know it. And so I think you're doing fine. I think you're, none of the stuff, I'll go out on a limb here. None of the problems you have with this dog are going to be any issues that are not fixable. There's just not. There isn't a dog out there that can't be fixed. I know that. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. And so the takeaway for everybody, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to go through and see. I'm going to let Nicole off, and then I'm going to see if there's any questions, and then we'll wrap up. But the takeaway for everybody, I think, there's a lot to take away from the conversation tonight, and a lot of them are specific mechanical detail things. But the biggest thing is the same thing that I preach more than anything else: patience. You're 13 weeks old, Nicole. We didn't do our first call till it was between 8 and 9 weeks, I think. So 4 to 5 weeks max is what any of this stuff has been worked on. So the reality is none of it is bulletproof. None of it is done. Recall is good. I'm telling you right now, it's going to get bad. Okay? It just is. So what? You'll get through it, and then it'll get good again. The tie out is bad. It's going to get good, and then it'll get bad again. Place training, it's been a struggle. It's going to get good, and then it's going to get bad again. Every person here has been on a roller coaster over the last however many weeks that we've been doing this with Spry. I've seen everybody go up and down multiple times. Usually, when they're down, it goes real silent. I don't hear much from people when things are down. When things are going good, I hear a lot. When things aren't going good, it gets pretty silent. So, we'll get through it all together. That's the point. So, all right?
Oh, awesome. Thanks again, Jeremy.
Yeah. You take care. We'll be in touch. Keep me posted, and then we'll touch base again. We'll try to do it shorter than a month, but if something comes up, maybe we'll do it sooner. If not, maybe we'll do a couple weeks. We'll do another check-in too.
Perfect.
All right?
All right.
All right. Have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
You bet. All right, guys. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to finish up reading some of these. We got some troopers that have stuck it through the whole time. So, why all of a sudden at 21 weeks when tied out, remote sit and on place? Why? I don't know, Tony, or Doug. 21 weeks. Where are we at with teething? Is teething starting? That's about the time teething starts. Usually teething creates issues. You're not the only one. I got another guy this week that actually called me, and we talked about it. He's seen major changes in his dog. from an obedience standpoint. Dog won't even heal well, and it's right within a week of when the dog started teething. So I think it's a lot like when females go into heat, it can throw them off. Teething can throw them off. I'm not going to let it be an excuse and stop all progress. So that was my question to you, Doug, on that. Recall is a major roller coaster for Jeff Trudell and Thor. Ice was good at tie out when I made a portable tie out weight. It worked a couple times, then he figured out he could move it and created a puller. So I'm back to something more solid, going to take a longer break her than this did the first time. So Jason Erickson went through another attempt of trying to do a tie out, and it didn't work. And so that's why I really believe in this, guys. I don't know what I paid for this. It's $8, $10, something like that at Fleet Farm. And then a 10-foot at the longest 10 feet. If you can get it shorter, that's fine. Otherwise, what you can do is you can clip these off and then just make it shorter. I've done that before. You buy a little hardware for it and you can make it a little bit shorter. Mark says his dog's recall is very frustrating right now. Good unless she has something in her mouth. You got to work on stuff without the mouth and form the habit first. 5 young kids. With all the activity, my pup doesn't settle in place very well. Should I keep the kids away from him and don't let anyone pet him? Yes. Yes. Get him first to be calm on place before we introduce distractions. Get him good by himself. You and him in the room first. That's it. Then add another person, add another person, add another person. Don't go from A to Z. Go from A to B, B to C, C to D. We'll get to Z. Excitement whining. I've hunted over those too. Yep. Would love some advice on kenneling my 9-week-old pup. What's the concern with it, John? I would look back on how we did Spry the first couple weeks. We had a really nice way of doing it so that she did not fight the kennel. I had a little pen, a little square penned-in area, and I left the gate on the kennel open and put a pillow in there for her when she was real little. She curled up in there and fell asleep in it. She loved it. Then it became a real safe place for her, and I slowly worked to where I was closing the gate on it, and then I slowly worked to where I was taking away the kennel. The thing you got to do is you got to be very conscious of when the puppy gets up. If the gate's open and the pup's in there, a gate on the crate, and the pup gets up and comes out, it's going to pee right away. So you got to be there to take it outside at that point and start the process for housebreaking. But look back, John, on our early Live with Sprys. Some of you guys have asked me, where can I find all the Live with Sprys? If you're on a mobile device, for whatever reason, Facebook won't let you go back all the way. But on a computer, you can watch all of them. And what you'll be pleasantly surprised is there's a ton of other videos that we have on our Facebook page as well that you can't access through a mobile device. You can only go back so far, I guess. So there's tons of little videos. And I was going through my phone the other day, and I've got hundreds of videos over the last few years that I've filmed with little dogs, just randomly. And so what I'm going to slowly start doing is loading that to our YouTube channel. So if you're not following our YouTube channel, it's DogBone Hunter. It's a good place to follow. We're going to start utilizing it more, and I'm going to start adding a bunch of stuff that is it's just small snippets of stuff that I've done with dogs over the years. But I'm glad I got them now. I never knew why I would film them or what the reason was, but I've used them sometimes on Facebook, but I've got other ones there. So Mark's got a dog that isn't digging. You're just fine then. Why do you prefer gravel over cement? Because I can't stake a stake down through the cement. So I wouldn't mind cement if I could drive a stake through it. But if I can't drive a stake through it, then I'm not able to tie them out. So concrete would work if you can figure out how to stake them into it. Let's see. Let's see, I'm going through. I bet you could throw this pigskin over the mountains. Oh, Uncle Rico's in. Napoleon Dynamite's brilliance. So Robin Ruby's in the position. Sometimes you guys, when other people want to rain on parades, sometimes we just don't let them into the parade. She's with family. Wyatt Anderson joined in. Welcome, Wyatt. Don't know if you're still with us. So I think we're getting down to the bottom. Do you start your place training immediately when you get pup home at 8 weeks. Yeah, 7 weeks when I bring him home. Usually that first week we're not doing it just because we're just adjusting and settling in and trying to get a schedule going with bathrooms and that. But when we did Spry on live, the very first number one live with Spry, it was not intended to be live with Spry series. We just did a number one, and it's really informal. It's Steph and me in the living room, and we put her on place for the very first time, and we filmed it. That's how Live with Spry started. So we filmed it live, and then we started in on this. So she's 7.5 weeks old. So we had her home for about 3 or 4 days. But yes, I start right away. Form habits early, man. It's easy. Ryan, he does it the day he brings them home. Robin Ruby's all over that. I was talking to one of my sons last week who introduced me these beautiful dogs. I was that excited. I was expecting too much from a little girl to see what I wanted to do. I'll take a step back. Then I was saying to myself, she is no different than baby or little kids. I realized I didn't let her be a puppy child. DogBone, you're down to earth. Now I know why my son Daniel loves you. Appreciate it, man. These are the boys from down under. Our mates from down under, I should say. Nicole joined in. I want to let you know that your advice gave me about my older pup losing her mind when meeting people has worked wonders. Thank you much. I appreciate that, Emily. I'm glad that worked for you. Good night. Mark was out. Puppy video is also awesome. I'm hoping you're meaning the puppy training DVD. I had a long conversation this afternoon with a guy about the puppy DVD. And it really made me feel good to hear what he said about it. Like, he just said some really nice stuff about it. He said it's really helped him. He's getting a dog. He doesn't even have his dog yet. He's going to be getting it. So the puppy DVD, to me, is something that I'm really proud of, and I think it's something that we spent so much time and effort putting in foundational information into that DVD. I don't care if you're a hunting dog guy or not, guy or gal. I don't care if you're hunting with them. I don't care if you're doing anything in the field with them. If you just want a dog, period, I want to enjoy my dogs. My hunting dogs are not. I want to enjoy them. You have to have the foundation, and that's really what that DVD talks about. Sometimes you need to tie out at different locations where I use the weight. I see. Instead of using the bumper of my truck. No, it makes sense. The bumper of the truck sucks because then you're going to get wrapped up all the time. I've used a lot of different ways. I like the idea of having it be portable, Jason. I've got another one that's just it's just a stake, and it's got a swivel on the inside that spins around. I think Hyperpet might make it. That one is really nice because it's really easy to pull in and out of the ground. That one is one that I keep in my truck because it doesn't have this number on it that gets stuck in the ground. It's just a straight rod. It's like a stake, and then it swivels, so it's real easy to pull out. That's something that I think is easy to come and go with as well. Robin said, "Yep, the puppy DVD." Ryan said he ordered the puppy DVD. Awesome. You guys have a great night. That went long. I apologize for going as long as it did, but I thought we covered some really good stuff. I'll go back here in case I missed anything. I think someone asked about the beds. The beds are available on our website, dogbonehunter.com. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate all the blue thumbs and the pink hearts. It warms my heart. I'll talk with you guys later. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. early. We'll be live again on the road. So talk to you soon.